Tianas Bayou Adventure is getting better and better every week. This is really interesting. So is this. Want to take a peek at Magic Kingdom? That's interesting. This is kind of disconcerting. All that and more coming up next, but let's first climb the treehouse and take a look at Tianas Bayou Adventure. Looks like we've got another full crew on the mountain. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 hard hats up there. All of them busy working on a variety of different segments of the mountain, which is always fun. I love seeing that when these guys are over here working and these guys down here are doing something else and these guys are over here doing something. It really makes it seem like, you know, it's an all hands on deck situation. That's the drop right there. I think here's a crew of 4. I think I know where they're working, and it's difficult to see from this angle, but we're gonna get into that from a different angle. But these guys were definitely actively working hard at getting something, nod, nod, wink, wink, ready to go, I think. There's a crew lower down the mountain, and it looks like they're working on that mesh down there, closing up some of those areas, filling in planters and gaps in the mountain. And again, stay tuned because there's going to be some of that coming up. Well, there's another guy back there around the corner. And there's that honeycomb we were looking at last week. I think we're going to get another look at that in a minute. Is he, what are they, yeah, is there, I saw comments last week saying there's new steel here. Is that there is? There is steel right there. Hold up. It's just a vertical and a horizontal beam. Very much like the steel that we saw them working on, the arrangement that we saw them working on in the back of the mountain over there by Pooh Corner. That is really interesting because it's not in a place that is guest facing. I mean, you could see it a little bit from where we are, but certainly not from any guest. The guests on the ground aren't going to see what they're doing there. That is fascinating. Why is there steel there? I have to know. Well, I'll let that go for now, I guess, but that's gonna make my brain itch for a while. But looking at that honeycomb, I still haven't been able to identify what that is or its function. Now I'm trying to decide if it's upright or at an angle, you know, slanted. If it even matters, I don't know. But don't you think that's interesting? If you're watching this show, then I think you do. But I find that interesting. See, I mean, I'm just staring. I'm just watching. I'm riveted. There are people checking out Adventureland Treehouse behind me, having a great time, and I'm like, what is that? What are they doing? Okay, on the ground out in front of Haunted Mansion, they put up a blue tarp. I don't really know why, but that's worth observing, is it not? It's either to protect something or to hide something. There's a hard hat behind it right now. That's that group of 4 up there in the middle of the frame. There are now 2. Oh, there's 3. But that's that same group we saw from the treehouse. Very busy, those guys, doing something of critical importance, I believe. I can hardly wait to show you that. I can hardly wait to show you that. But it's going to come up later in the show. It's going to come up later. It's a teaser, you guys. It's a cliffhanger. I was also trying to see if I couldn't get any kind of glimpse of that steel and or honeycomb type deal from the ground. But no, you can't see that from down here. You can see the mesh down there on the ground. But yeah, nothing much else to see there, I don't think. Why does that seem like more scaffolding than there was before? It may be. Yeah, so he's got, I want to call those, it's not a wire cutter, it's something that's like it's a grippy thing. You grab it and then it allows you to pull like he did. There's a word for that. I get a kick whenever somebody tells you what a certain tool is or whatever. And I still don't know what that thing is. You know what I mean? What they call that. Yeah, there's the front. Nothing to report there. Nothing to report from the Scriven scaffold. I'm just counting down the seconds till we can look at this thing again. And last week, I had speculated that it looked like they were going to close that area off. This is Slip and Falls. This is after Slip and Falls, just before you enter the dark ride portion of the attraction. You've just dropped. Half the boat got wet, and you're about ready to go and see that the Brer Bear and Brer Fox. That's that path leading into that dark ride, the first dark ride section. I speculated that they're closing that in. They're gonna make it a tunnel. This sure as heck looks like that's exactly what they're doing. There's a lot more steel placed here, and this time it's horizontal, not the vertical bar that we saw them putting in last week, but I don't know, 5 or 6 different vertical bars. Plus that looks like siding that they're gonna put on top of that to give it, you know, a closed off finish. You see that? It's like siding. So they're going to affix that on top for sure. So all that, it looks like they're going to build a tunnel, and that's just that is really interesting. That is really interesting. Like, what could they possibly be doing here? What is the creative choice? I wonder. Like, are they going to project something on those tunnel walls? Why would they want to close it in? I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just curious what the creative reasoning is. What do they have in mind? Here's a better look at that first section that they're starting to close in. So they put in more vertical beams, you know, across the top, and now they're getting ready to. He's going to do a little more grinding. We saw this guy last week. I don't know if it's the same guy or not, but there was a grinder there. They're going to do a little more of that, get things ready to be fitted. But they're definitely closing that thing up. 100% they're closing that thing up, in my opinion. So while we're looking at this tarp, I teased the thing that's really interesting. That wasn't it, even though that is interesting. Stay tuned for the end of the show. I'm going to show you something that I think is really cool. That's not it. Instead, we're going to go back to New Orleans Square and head to the New Orleans Square train station. First to look in at the depot that's been under refurb for a while, and it's still in the same condition. I just like to check in on this thing every now and then to see if they've done anything. But I keep saying I don't expect them to. I think they're going to wait until they start the Haunted Mansion refurb to do anything with that. And then it caught this whole section right here. Every time I come back here, my mind wanders, and I look at this and I'm like, what do they have? What's going to happen here? I love this little area back here. It's always been a shame to me that they haven't been able to utilize it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful back here. It used to be the Haunted Mansion Fast Pass queue when they had kiosks. That's where you get your Fast Pass. And I used to love going in there just to get one. It's delightful. But I keep looking at the relationship between the exterior queue of the Haunted Mansion, the Fast Pass queue, and the Disneyland Railroad track and the tunnel, and how all those things are sort of symbiotic with respect to what's going to be happening in the coming months, starting in January, starting this month now. We are beginning that process. It'll be beginning soon, I should say, in a couple weeks, of redoing this queue. It's going to happen, guys. This is going to happen. We're going to get a new Haunted Mansion queue. Does that not just blow your mind sometimes? This is just beautiful. I sure hope that whatever it is that they replace this with is as beautiful as this. And that they find some way to repurpose. I know they will. A lot of the statues and stuff. Matter of fact, I think the statues are already gone. I might have to look back there next week to see if those statues, that were adorned in that Fast Pass queue, because I think they're going to get repurposed for the new queue. But I'm just really fascinated by how all of this space, half of that space over there where the fountain is, the Haunted Mansion proper queue, and the Disneyland Railroad tunnel and the Fast Pass, how that's all going to come together into one thing. Look at that. Tunnel, Fast Pass queue, Haunted Mansion. It's all going to change. It's all going to change. A couple weeks to get started. I'm sorry. I'm just, I just can't. I know I've covered this before, and I know I've gone into detail about what they're gonna do and all that, but still, this has been a part of the framework of New Orleans Square for so long. I'm not against what they're doing. It's just interesting that it's gonna happen, and I like to reflect on things. While I was here, I jumped on the Disneyland Railroad real quick just to get a quick scan of the fast pass queue for Splash Mountain to see if anything new develops there. I had speculated that maybe they had put down new concrete, but I don't think they have. There's no way they could have. It's too soon. It's too soon for them to have done that, and it doesn't look good enough. They were gonna. I'd want it to look better than it does, so I am going to go with no. I think this is a nothing. By the way, what's going on in the lift hill right there? That's where the first lift for the Splash Mountain boats, the Tiana boats. What's going on there, I wonder? They're doing something in there. Next week, guys. We'll see you next week. Let's go back up the treehouse. Look at the Mark Twain. A couple guys working on the boat today. It's the guys wearing the knee pads, the knee protectors, which suggests to me decking or paint. That they're still doing either the decking or the paint. So far, we're still at February 3rd for a reopening date. We're going to check out the backside of the Mark Twain. Just as soon as the Columbia gets its fat butt out of the way. She is a beauty, though. Okay, there we go. I can't really tell what he's doing down there, though. She is going to shine like nobody's business. When this thing opens up, I can't wait. I can't wait to get back on this Mark Twain and admire her beauty. Over there by the Haunted Mansion, we'll get a look at the side view. And last week I had mentioned that they still hadn't put in the windows. They had taken out, the window sills and the actual glass while they were repainting. And it looks like they have, in fact, replaced those. But yeah, you can see that the brown, the kind of reddish brown windowsills have been replaced, as have those light fixtures. The lantern-like light fixtures, those weren't there last week. The pilot's cabin, or whatever you want to call that, has also gotten its wood. I don't know if the glass is installed. It probably, yeah. That's probably glass and the wood frames. The doors have been returned as well. Same sort of reddish brown doors in that rear cabin. While I was checking out the Mark Twain, I heard the sounds of a cutting tool on the Tom Sawyer Island. And it looks like, yeah, he's got some kind of cutting tool doing what, I'm not sure, but where he's working is the stage door, the trap door for Mickey. That's where Mickey comes on and off stage. Ooh, that's smoky. Stop by the Jungle Cruise. Well, actually, we're in the Indiana Jones queue looking at the Jungle Cruise. I didn't ride. Just to put eyes on the dig site back there. Still, I think it's going to be a minute because there's been no movement here. Obviously, nothing's happening out front. I try to look through the bamboo. You can see there's a green scrim up obscuring the actual, whatever it is that they're actually doing. But I mean, we can't see nothing there. But as long as that thing's up, we're not going to be able to see anything. So no progress at the Jungle Cruise. We'll go to Fantasyland, to the Fantasyland Theater. As I record this, we have just one more day left of the Lion King show, Tale of Lion King. When I publish this, it'll have ended. It ending, I believe, on January 7th, January 8th. There will be no shows at the Fantasyland Theater. And the only thing they have on the schedule is 2 shows of Celebrate Gospel, and other than that, the Fantasyland Theater will be empty, unoccupied. Right next door, we go to Toontown, where I found this today. I've been waiting. This is what we thought was going to happen every single day at Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. We finally got a little bit of it. We finally got a huge undoable queue for Runaway Railway. Look at that. It's out the door into the switchback. This is like opening day type queues. And standby was at 75 minutes. And oh, by the way, still the blue walls and scrim up at Donald's boat. Go to Tomorrowland, check in on the Astro Orbiter. I was kind of shocked. We've been like, oh, okay, I wonder what progress we've got at Astro Orbiter. They've been dismantling it a little bit at a time. And I was gonna say, okay, so this piece is missing now. There are no pieces missing. The entire piece, all of it is missing. It is gone. The Astro Orbiter is gone. Now, it's disconcerting, kind of shocking to look at, but it's not leaving. It's not gone. It's just not here anymore. And also, I will mention, last week we ruminated on the possibility of them repainting, changing the color scheme away from that, steampunk scheme. And we can already give up on that fantasy. I neglected to observe this last week, but I'm observing it now. If they were going to change the color scheme back to a more retro white and blue or green or something like that, if they were going to change the theme, the color scheme, they would change it here as well, and they are not. Which takes us to this beauty. Yep, we're going on the monorail. There she is. She just pulled into the station. There, fast at work still. It's too early to see any kind of definition about what it is that they're building. We've got 2 work sites here. We've got, on the rear of the dining and retail building there. And then to its right in frame here, look at that. There's just all kinds of stuff happening down there. It's a maze of plumbing and conduit and footings and all kinds of things. They're getting ready to go vertical here very, very soon. I'm so curious. This is because my assumption is that that's going to be Earl's. Well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it in a second. For now, we can observe that they have moved the scrim, the fencing, inward towards the Star Wars trading post. It's still open. I saw the sign and I thought of Clerks. I assure you, we're still open. So they finished the surfacing, the resurfacing from where the stage was. That green screen was where that gray and white areas are now, on the pavement. Scott Gustin on Twitter said the other day that this building, which has been here for a while, is going to be a temporary Earl's. I don't know, man. I feel like this is, at every construction site, they had these temporary buildings, these temporary, offices where the foreman and all that can get together and look at blueprints and drink coffee, etc. I had always just assumed that's what this was. But can you really turn one of these things into something that even resembles a place to serve food? While I was here, new fencing came up around the Downtown Disney sign, the god-awful Downtown Disney sign, the sign that I don't like that era of architecture at all. I can't wait till we get our mid-century modern thing back or installed, which I'm hoping that's what this is. I'm hoping, but it looks like that's what they're getting ready to do. I'm hoping. I heard a rumor that Tortilla Joe's has a date, that they're going to close Tortilla Joe's in March, and they're going to begin the process of demoing it. Now, I had thought a long time ago, 100 years ago, I thought this was where they were going to build Din Tai Fung. Obviously, they're not. So, if they are going to demo it, what are they going to build here? Now, that site is actually big enough, because people talked about the Earl's Sandwich not being big enough. Earl's Sandwich is too small to build at Porto's. And I said, well, you can expand it out there. There's lots of room out in front of Earl's and to its right or to our left as we face it. But you don't have to. I mean, that footprint is big enough at Tortilla Joe's for Porto's. But that's what I've heard. Porto's is going to Earl's. So if Porto's is going to Earl's, what's going at Tortilla Joe's? There's nothing left. We haven't heard of any other restaurants or anything coming to that location. So what are they going to put there? Let's check in on Paseo and Centrico. Interesting developments here, actually. We've watched them put in those slats at Centrico, but look at that. They've installed the same kind of thing at Paseo. There's wood going up for the facade of Paseo, and the awning is starting to get slats, just like the slats that are at Centrico. There you go. And it looks like there's new steel they're putting in the rail. I think that rail is new. Here's the walls up at Blue Sky Cellar, or what used to be Blue Sky Cellar. It will be Blue Sky no more. No more cellar. Eventually this will become a DVC welcoming center, you know, a place for DVC guys to, I don't know, buy points, look at plans, look at hotels, etc. Pretty soon this corridor will be cleared. The next time we do a report here, Christmas will be gone. All these decorations will be down. And hopefully, I mean, I'm crossing my fingers that maybe hopefully they might be able to do something about the Little Mermaid entrance, because all that food and wine festival setup will be gone, and maybe they can put the entrance back. I thought maybe that was the reason why they did it. We'll find out in a week. And as for Little Mermaid, obviously, it's the same situation. It's still, you know, under Genie Plus, but on this visit, very little impact. Negligible impact on standby from Lightning Lane, which I'm happy to report. Okay, I promised you guys something really interesting to look at back at Tiana's Bayou Adventure. This is shot from the Briar Patch, and I noticed a lot of activity here, both from the treehouse and on the ground, and now obviously here as well. That red tarp up there was new, and obviously there's a guy cutting right there. Just guys working in earnest, working very, very hard. Last week we saw that big square metal piece, and I wondered what that was for. And I was told that that's very likely it's a setting, it's a placeholder to mount something. The thing that you're going to mount most likely is the water tower, Tiana's Palace water tower, the famed piece from the concept art and the model, the one that they've already installed at Magic Kingdom. I believe that's what they're getting ready to install here. It could be coming very soon, you know, in that same area where that red tarp is and where all those guys are standing and doing extensive work. I do believe we are very close to them bringing in the water tower. That steel thing, that square thing we saw yesterday was I don't know what you call that, like a gasket of some kind, you know, for a place to upon which you use as a guide, a map, a stamp to place the Tiana water tower on. And in fact, all that cutting right now that they're doing that's creating all that smoke is they're probably getting the mounts ready in order to put the thing in place. That's why all that smoke is really the reason why I believe that we're very close to getting it, because they're going to bring it in. It could even be there by the time I shoot this next week, by next Friday. There's a decent chance that they will have brought that in already. So stay tuned. I don't know if we're going to catch it. I'm only in the parks shooting this stuff once a week, but I'm in the parks a couple times a week. If I happen to see it, I'll let you guys know. But this is really, really fascinating. It gets even more interesting as I just stand here and watch these guys. I literally just stood there with the camera. I was holding it, just staring. Just entranced. But anyway, Disney just put out a video about this weather vane that they built a weather vane. You can see it in the model, but that's not the reason why we're looking at this. The reason why we're looking at this is this. They flashed this model, in a little piece, and some very astute observers on Twitter. I love, this is not my forte. Noticing fine detail within seconds is not my forte. Thank goodness for folks on Twitter and other social medias who could point stuff out. Look what's missing from this model. That water tower that we were just referencing doesn't have Tiana's foods on it, nor does it have the tiara, the crown, Tiana's crown on top of that water tower. Now, It's very possible that this isn't the same model that we saw at the model at D23 does say Tiana's Foods on it, and it does have a tiara. But it is interesting that it's not there, considering that the Tiana's Foods themed concept and the tiara are both subjects of debate. People are questioning if it's, you know, good, if it's a good idea, if it looks good, if people want it. I'm neither for or against it. If it didn't happen, I'd be fine. If it does happen, I'm fine. It doesn't really bother me either way, or it's not important to me either way. But that is missing from this model. We'll close with some photos. Oh, spoiler alert. These are going to be photos from Magic Kingdom, whose mountain, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, is much further along than we are. So if you don't want to spoil, thank you guys for watching. I love you guys very, very much. Stay tuned for more from Fresh Baked. Be safe, be kind. If you're sticking around, let's look at these photos as provided from BioReconstruct on Twitter. For those of us who are nerds for this type of stuff, he is just like a legend. He's covering Epic Universe like crazy, you guys, like crazy. But here's the mountain. This is shot from well back. For starters, just to kind of give you an impression of how the mountain is blending in with the trees along that path, the bridge that runs along the front of the mountain in Frontierland. I like the way this looks. It doesn't bother me one bit. I like the way it's, you know, sort of framed by those trees. Lots of scaffolding still up on the mountain. Lots of scaffolding, but as we noticed a couple weeks ago, still no scaffolding at the very top, at the crown, which suggests that that's a peek at what the final form is going to look like in terms of the vegetation, the landscaping on this mountain. There in this next pic is there's Magic Kingdom's water tower, and theirs has Tiana Foods, and theirs has the tiara on top. I have to say, you know what? I'm 70% against the tiara now that I think I talked about this last time. I'm not crazy about putting a tiara on there. I don't think that that's something that Tiana would do, to be honest. We mentioned a couple weeks ago that they're not adding that brightly colored floral vegetation to the entire mountain. This mountain on the left, this part of the mountain on the left, still is maintaining much of its same look as we would have found on Splash Mountain in the past. There's our tree. I love this tree. I'm not going to talk about the tree this time. I'm just going to show it to you. And then I love that tree. And then finally, we'll give you a close-up of what that floral vegetation looks like. This is top of the mountain. What is that? And is that consistent with the kind of vegetation you might find in the bayou? And that's it, you guys. That's our look at construction this week from the Disneyland Resort. I hope you guys enjoyed. That was a lot of fun. Before we go, if you haven't already, be sure to check out our most recent State of Disneyland report. We cover the Pirates of the Caribbean news and what else is happening around the park. Check that out if you can. Also, if you like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. We are doing extra content for that channel, including behind-the-scenes type stuff and other reports from the park. This actually is behind-the-scenes footage that Liz and I shot from a visit last week. That's for our gold tier members. And then, of course, follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.